What just happened in that season finale of Jujutsu Kaisen is what I know we're all thinking right now. My guy Inumaki lost an arm, Brain Geto just released 1,000 cursed sorcerers, and now Geto and Gojo are apparently working together? That was a lot to take in, but now I'm gonna share my personal thoughts and opinions on the season finale of season 2. And let's just get straight into it. The episode starts off with just absolutely blue-balling us. Like, I know we all thought, if you didn't read the manga at least, that we were about to get some giant final battle between Geto and Yuki, and that's just not what happened. And like I said, I thought that battle was well-deserved. I mean, we just finished up season 2, considering that was the last episode, and the only giant battle we've had between two special grade sorcerers, at least that I remember, is in JJK 0 when Geto is fighting Yuta. That's the only thing I could remember, so this felt like the perfect time to let us see what Yuki can do, and also just give us another giant fight like we got in JJK 0. That JJK 0 fight was peak boxing, so it only made sense to spin it back and run it again when we see Yuki, because this is the end of season 2. It's been fights after fights, giant battles after battles, and then that's not what happened. Instead, we just end up getting a giant yap fest between the two. Like Kenjaku, Brain Geto, whatever you want to call him, I'm pretty confused on what his game plan is. I'm sure they'll touch more on it in season 3, but from what I understood, he has the same plan as original Geto, except he doesn't really care who lives. Original Geto was just trying to get rid of all the humans so that there would be no more curses. Now, Brain Geto's plan is slightly different. From what I understood, he doesn't care if you're a curse, a human, a sorcerer. They can all co-live in the same world as long as it's chaos. So Brain Geto drops to one knee and hits the summoning jutsu from Naruto. And like I said, at this point, I thought he was about to bring out some giant monstrous curse and dip out with Gojo and leave that to fight Yuki or something along those lines. But instead, I think he pretty much just gave us information on what the entirety of season 3 is basically going to be about. Brain Geto lets us know with his summoning jutsu that he just awakened 1,000 sorcerers that were asleep, and one of them included Megami's sister. As someone that hasn't read the manga, I'm sure her curse technique is going to be just as powerful as Megami's, so I'm really looking forward to this. Megami went through enough this season already though. Like, he went in a giant battle with his dad and didn't even know it was his dad, and now we're finding out in the next season he may have to do another giant battle against his own sister. The man went through enough this season. Just let him take a W at this point and tame Maharaga. It seems like the premise for next season though is going to be the culing games, which sounds like it's gonna deal with us getting Gojo back, as well as us dealing with the 1,000 cursed sorcerers that Geto's now released onto the world. No hate to Jujutsu Kaisen, but for this to be the finale, everything after this and everything that happened before Yuta pulls up felt like it added very little to the story and wrapping everything up. And honestly, it could have been wrapped up a lot faster. Like, everything they explained, it felt like they wasted so much of the episode explaining things that didn't need to be explained, or they could have been summed up faster. Like, boom, weird things are happening in Japan with power outages and the humans have no idea why. On the other hand, the Jujutsu sorcerer side is trying to decide if they tell humans about curses now that there's so many in the world. That entire segment took like 8 minutes out of a 20-minute episode when they realistically could have summed that all up in probably about 3 to 5 minutes. I don't know, that's just me though. For this to be the finale, I honestly have to say I think this was probably the worst episode in the entire season. And it just felt like there was a lot of things unanswered, which sure, there's going to be another season, but they could have easily wrap this up in this season. For starters, I know we were all hyped to see Yuta pull back up in the anime finally and not be talked about like he's some legendary forbidden special grade sorcerer that we're never gonna see. But I thought in the movie it was established he lost Rika. Rika is no longer on his team, but then we find out that Rika's with him and destroys this curse and the little girl can see it. Like, what's happening here? I mean, I'm not complaining. Besides Gojo, Yuta's probably my favorite character, so you know, letting him keep Rika, that makes him even stronger, so I have nothing to complain about. Having my young king Yuta look even flyer than ever. Brain Geto better be grateful that Yuta was not there, or there would have been no Shibuya incident to be had. If he was, this whole thing would have been called the Yuta Massacre, and it would have been about how he freed Gojo, destroyed the disaster curses, destroyed Brain Geto, and killed Yuji Itadori. And the Jujutsu Sorcerer world would have lived happily ever after that. The next thing that made no sense to me though is what happened to my guy Inumaki. Like, my boy pulled up to Shibuya, got absolutely zero screen time, and I mean zero. Like, he had had more screen time in all of season 1 and even the JJK Zero movie than he did season 2. Just for us to find out this man's arm got off-screen by Itadori. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking, whoa, when the heck did Inumaki run into Itadori and lose his arm? That was never shown. So I asked around and had a deep dive on Reddit to figure this out, but this is actually really important to the story considering it's the main reason it feels like Yuta wants to kill Itadori now. But apparently it happened when Itadori, or Sukuna I guess, did his domain expansion and killed all those humans in Maharaga. Yeah, Inumaki got caught up in that and lost his arm. And maybe this is just me, but it felt super important to the story to know this. Like, Sukuna's domain expansion killed all of those humans, killed Maharaga, not Inumaki. So how the heck did Inumaki survive this? I don't know what the power scaling is on this exactly, but surviving Sukuna's domain expansion, I don't care even if it wasn't meant for you, is pretty impressive. Oh yeah, and by the way, Yuta wants to kill Itadori now. I know I kind of slipped that in, but yeah, our boy Itadori is cooked. He's not beating that dog Yuta. I don't care what any of y'all have to say. Sure, he beat Mahito, but he still even had to jump Mahito. He's not ready for Yuta. We're talking about Yuta, the same kid that beat Geto, who is known as one of the strongest sorcerers ever as a kid, and now he's got years of experience and training. Yeah, that boy Yuji is cooked. I am curious though if we're even going to get to see this fight next season or some interaction between the two. I would hope so, but from Yuta's side of the story, it's on site for him. So I don't know, I guess we'll wait and see next season or whenever we see the two interact, but I'm looking forward to how this plays out. And boy, for the ending, they spit us out some PowerPoint Shibuya spark notes and they got everything wrong. They started off with letting us know like Geto is still alive and he's still ready to be killed on site, which is cool. Y'all got that part of it kind of right, I guess. The next screen though, they let us know that Gojo is now considered a conspirator with Geto, which just made me laugh on the fact that they followed up by saying that unsealing him will be considered a criminal act. Who is falling for this blatant lie? Like, even Mei was smart enough to understand that Gojo doesn't need Geto to be evil. If Gojo wanted to be evil, Gojo single-handedly could take over the world, so why would he need to work with Geto? Then they also obviously know he's sealed away, so why would Geto seal him away if they were on the same team? Like, did they really think Geto is so giga-brained that he had some plan to work together with Gojo and then betray Gojo and seal Gojo when Gojo never needed Geto in the first place? Like, whoever thought of this idea to blame this all on Gojo and make Gojo a victim, yeah, you gotta redo this. All I know is whenever Gojo gets unsealed, the first person I hope he goes after is whoever made that lie. Actually, I hope whoever made that lie up, he goes after second. First of all, he's gotta go get Brain Geto for holding on to his homeboy's body. They then mentioned that Yaga also will be sentenced to death for, well, instigation, which I all think we know he never instigated anybody during this entire season. He barely was even on the screen except for maybe more than 3 minutes. I don't really care for Yaga, but they did say he was going to be sentenced to death, and I really hope he just doesn't get off screen and we never see him in the rest of the series, because that would just be kind of lame. But yeah, I'm hoping Yaga's just on the run or something and didn't get off screen and hopefully appears in season 3, or we at least hear more about him that he's alive. I don't really care that much. I just don't want him to get off screen. The last two kind of go hand in hand, in which Itadori is now sentenced to be executioned again, and the person to do that is, well, Yuta. Now that I'm saying that out loud, I realize that means Itadori is now also going to have to be on the run, because Yuta is kind of on the good side of the Jujutsu Sorcerer world, I guess. That last scene of him clapping his hands though, like what was that? Like, we were just on some giant battlefield, all kinds of things were happening, and now it looks like it's maybe like a couple days or maybe even a week later because Itadori's injuries are healed up and he just claps his hand and summons a giant curse out of the ocean. Like, how does that work? And now the season's just over after that. Like, we went from 100 to 0 really quickly, but even then I do have to say the Shibuya arc was absolutely amazing and I have no complaints. Other than the finale was, you know, kind of bad. I do have some Jujutsu Kaisen Shibuya incident videos I still want to make covering what happened this season, but after that, it's kind of on to the next series. I do know for sure that I at least want to make 1 to 2 Blue Lock videos along with some other series, so let me know if you have anything specific you want to see in the comments. I appreciate everyone that tuned in and watched my Jujutsu Kaisen videos. I appreciate all of you, and if you did miss a single video, I'll put a playlist on screen for you to watch it, but I hope you'll stick around for more videos from me.